terminology or the Quranic terminology. So the presence of Hebrew would be justified. Now that also reflects on one thing. There is a debate going on about the language of Christ, peace be upon him. Some people believe, like Mr. Ward has said, that his language was Aramaic. But some others very strongly contradict this, and they believe that it was Hebrew in which originally Allah spoke to him, and his language was Hebrew. Because that was the language of old religious families of Jews, and they stuck to that language. They might have known some other languages as well, but the Hebrew was the main language. That is the main debate, but could you throw some more light on this? Why did you say it was Aramaic rather than Hebrew?
No,
do you have some strong evidence in favor of this? Or you just mentioned it as a possibility?
No, I think he definitely spoke Hebrew, because the writings in the, if they are his writings in the Dead Sea Scrolls,
yes,
are written in Hebrew.
In Hebrew, that's right. Yes.
So obviously he would have had to speak and be able to read and write in Hebrew to understand the scriptures. But he would also have had to have been able to communicate with some of the other population of the country who didn't speak Hebrew. So for that purpose he would probably have had to communicate in Aramaic rather than Greek, because he didn't tend to go towards the city areas where Greek was spoken, but he went more to the rural areas which depended on Aramaic. But Hebrew definitely, and Aramaic probably, I should say.
It's all right now?
Yes.
Or some more?
There is a similarity also with Promised Messiah, because he spoke in Arabic and Urdu and Persian and Punjabi.
Punjabi as well, yes, exactly. In a large empire, it is always possible, not only possible, but it is very probable that people would be multilinguists. Many languages are spoken obviously in large empires. So it is quite possible for the people to know more than one language as usual. Maybe they speak two as their natural mother tongues and plus some. So that was the state of affairs with the Roman Empire, I suppose. But when was that Roman Empire adopted Greek as official language? That is rather surprising to me. I thought it was spoken in only those parts of Roman Empire where originally they had Greek influence, or in Greece itself. But from your speech I understood, I thought I understood you correctly, that at a time, particularly at the time of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, and in the 1st century, the official language of Roman Empire was Greek. Is that right?
No. The empire was in two sections, in effect, the eastern half and the western half.
That's right, yes.
And Rome still remained the capital, and the official language was Latin. But for the language of commerce, and probably administration in the east as well, largely, it was Greek, because these were Greek areas, and the civil servants.
But the correspondence which was held officially,
yes, that was Latin.
That was Latin, that's what I thought,
right.
yes, correct.
But the common language throughout the eastern half,
that was obviously Greek, yes, that's right.
And the language of literature, although they spoke Latin in the West, if they wanted to read the works of the Greek philosophers, or poets or playwrights, then they had to be able to read the Greek, because many of them weren't translated or translated accurately. And Greek, a Hellenistic civilization being somewhat higher than the Roman one, obviously it had a bit more to offer. And to learn the Greek was an advantage in picking up this knowledge, this learning.
Now what is the significance of Hellenistic, this term? Why our Greek philosophy, their mythology, their culture system, their sciences are all branded as Hellenistic? What is the significance of this word? Why is it adopted instead of just Greek?
I should have mentioned this. Yes, that's an important point, I think. To explain it, I think we have to go back to the time of Alexander. Before Alexander the Great, Sikander, Greece comprised more or less the country we think of as Greece now. And to be a Greek or have any Greek culture, you had to be born in that area. So you were Greek by birth. Now Alexander himself was not born in that area, he was born outside that area. So he was always regarded by the Greeks as being semi-barbarian, which meant anybody born outside the borders of Greece. So after he conquered the Persian Empire and went over to India, Pakistan and so on, he established the Greek cities, the Greek institutions, the gymnasium, the libraries, the schools and everything. Throughout the whole of this empire, it spread and became established after his death by the other Greek successors to it. So after that time, you could become Greek or Hellenized, not by being born in Greece, but by attending one of these institutions, or some of these institutions, or joining some of these things, which he'd set up in other parts of his empire, in Syria, and in Egypt, anywhere, in India even. If you had the same sort of education and understanding, then you were Hellenized, or you became a Greek. So similarly, you yourselves might be comparable to that, because the British Empire extended to India and Pakistan. It's not necessary that you are born in this country in order to be Anglicized, or in order to have an English outlook, or to have English culture. If you went to an English medium school or university or whatever in your own country, or you were born under the Raj, then you have acquired to some extent these British characteristics. I think this is important as well when it comes to preaching in this country. A lot of people are a bit afraid that the English people are somewhat different from what you are. Well, to some extent it's true, but you have, some of us anyway, have this English background, and this in effect puts us quite near to them in understanding and cultures in some way. So similarly with the Hellenized subjects of the Roman Empire, because they had been educated or brought up in this Greek tradition, they were Hellenized and were the successors to the Greek culture and spread it on themselves.
What does Hellen mean?
Hellen was the name the Greeks applied to themselves.
Greek society.
Hellas was the name for Greece.
That is what I want to find out. Hellas. Is it Hellas?
Hellas.
Correct.
The names of the people were the Hellenes.
That's right.
So anybody who was a Philhellene was Hellenistic. Mr. Hayat's going on.
And Carthia, what relationship had it with the Roman Empire, and when did it disappear? Previously it was a big part. At times it has been, in fact, conquered of a large area, which later on became Roman.
Carthia or Carthage? Carthage. This was a little bit before this time. Carthage was centered on the city of Carthage in Tunisia, modern Tunisia, and conquered an area of North Africa.
And also some islands around
yes,
this.
Spain and Sicily and part of Sardinia.
That's right, yes.
And they were supposedly descended from the Phoenicians. So as Rome began to expand its trade and empire westwards, it automatically came into contact with this Carthaginian empire. And they had 3 successive wars in which the Carthaginians were destroyed, and the city of Carthage was in fact razed to the ground in 146 BC. So
was it by Greeks or by the legends?
By the Romans.
By the Romans?
Yes, by the Romans.
But that great war with Carthia, that has been the